This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. In the previous session, we discussed about how to write an XPath, correct? So today I want to go back to our OSB practice. I want to develop one OSB service. I mean, already we saw two OSB services, right? One is echo service and another is addition of two numbers. So today I want to create one more SOAP web service. Let's say a simple logic subtraction of two numbers. Okay, I just want to go with subtraction of two numbers logic. A simple logic here. Concentration is not on subtraction. The concentration is on how we design the business logic. Okay, so right, even for subtraction, I'm going to use the same WSDL which we used in the addition web service. That is common arithmetic interface dot WSDL. If you see this, font is very small. Let me increase the font. Let me increase the font to 40. Still little small. 60. Okay. Is it little better? The font is better for you? Visible, right? If you see here, we have two XSDs, the same XSDs which we used in addition of two numbers. So here, if you understand the structure of the XSD, the input is expecting two integers, output is expecting operation name and result. Guys, you must remember the structure of XSD. While doing a OSB program, it is very important what is the input structure and what is the output structure we are using. Okay, suppose if I'm talking about subtraction of two numbers, a small, it's a very small web service, right? If you want to do the web service in SOVA and OSB, let's compare the steps, okay, for your understanding. In SOVA, what we need to do, we need SOVA application. We need SOVA application. And then if you already have a SOVA application, no need to create a new one. You can reuse the existing SOVA application. And then you need a SOVA project. SOVA project. Of course, you can create multiple SOAP web services in one project, no doubt in that. Okay. So anyway, at least we need one SOVA project. And then we need to create components inside SOA project, something like service component, okay, which contains WSDL, holds WSDL. And then, of course, this WSDL internally contains XSDs as well. WSDL along with XSDs. Okay. And then we create a people component which holds logic, right? And then what we do, we design the logic inside the people, design the logic inside people. Okay, so in our case, in the current example, what is the logic? Subtraction of two numbers. Subtraction of two numbers, right? For that, what we need? First, we need receive and replay activities along with input and output variables. Agree? Input and output variables inside people. And then for subtraction logic, we can use uh, either assign action, assign activity, or transform activity. Transform activity. Right. So here observe, when you design the assign activity or transform activity, the data mapping the data mapping we perform on variables, input variable to output variable. In input variable, we have required input fields. We perform subtraction logic and copy the result into output variable. So here we use the transformation along with variables. Okay, this is one important difference between SOA and OSB. Here we use transform activity, or we use transformation or attain activity on variables. We already have variables and we have different one input variable, one output variable. I'm taking one small example, guys. Okay, one input variable, one output variable. uh, we can perform the subtraction business logic in between input variable and output variable. Okay, in the input variable, we have required input data. We will apply the subtraction logic, and the result of the data we will load it into output variable. Any questions till this point? Any questions? Okay, suppose if you want to do the similar steps in OSB service, first you need anyway OSB application, and then you need OSB project. Of course, you can reuse existing project as well. If you already have an OSB project handy with you and it is suitable for your requirement, you can reuse the same OSB project. I will show you how to reuse. Okay, and then see in SOA we configure service component and people component, correct? But here what we do, we need to configure proxy service which holds WSDL along with XSTs, right? And then instead of people in OSB, what we have? Pipeline component. Pipeline component or pipeline service, you can say. Pipeline component which holds logic, right? Business logic, our business logic. Okay. In pipeline component, we will design the business logic however we want, what complex logic we want, we will design. So design the logic inside pipeline with actions. We don't have activities, we have actions here. Okay, so what actions we configure? We don't have receive activity, reply activity kind of actions here. So this pipeline contains default body variable, uh, but this acts as input and output. This acts as input and output variable. So we don't have separate variables like input variable and output variable. In people we have a one separate input variable and one separate output variable. But in OSB we don't have separate input variable and output variable. There is a variable called body variable. Always remember. Okay. And here, if you want to design any business logic, we don't depend on variables. To design if you want to design a transformation, it can be XSLT, it can be X query transformation. We don't depend on variables. We design the transformation based on XSDs. Design the transformation based on XSDs, not based on variables. In Beeple, if you see, we design the subtraction logic. Okay, we use either assign activity or transform activity. Of course, we use these activities depends on variables. We directly access the variables. But in OSB, we don't design the transformation based on variables. We design the transformations based on XSDs. Okay, and then we need to supply, or we need to configure required input and output. I don't say input output, I will say required source and target variables for the transformation. This is one important difference, guys, between Beeple and OSB. SOA and OSB. In SOA, we create the transformation on variables, but in OSB, we create the transformation on XSDs, and then we configure the required source and target variables. So what is the source variable for the transformation? What is the target variable for the transformation? We configure. We configure it. Okay. Any questions? Any questions till this point? No questions, sir? No one is speaking. You understand it or you don't understand it?
Sir, we understand.
Yes, sir.
You
No.
understand it, right? Okay. So you are clear till this point. So let's design the subtraction of two numbers web service. Okay. We decided to use this common arithmetic interface WSDL, which holds request XSD and response XSD. Okay. So we want to do subtraction logic based on these XSDs. We want to design the transformation based on these XSDs. We'll see how to design. And I'm going to reuse the existing OSB project. I'm not creating a new OSB project. In the existing project, I'm designing the subtraction web service. So how to design it? You can start your SOAP service either with proxy service or with pipeline service. Any component you can design first. I show you in the previous two sessions, I show you how to start the configuration with the pipeline, how to start the configuration with proxy. So both the components you can use to start the service. So here I'm using HTTP. That means I'm starting my service with a proxy service. Okay. Or you can, I will show you another method as well. See guys, here you have a proxy service folder, right? Here directly you can come here. Let it load. Okay. So here itself, you can see, you can configure proxy service. This is another approach. In previous two examples, I show you two different ways how you can create the SOAP web service. This is another way. So I'm designing proxy service. Okay, you got a proxy service, same widget. You can give some naming convention. I will say subtraction underscore PS. This is my subtraction proxy service, and I have a dependency on WSDL. Dependency on WSDL. Okay, let's browse the WSDL. This is a browse icon. At the time of browse, I can browse the WSDL within the project or entirely outside of project as well. So when you browse a WSDL from outside of your project, that will be imported into your OSB project. And when you browse internal, I mean within the OSB project, if you have any WSDL, that you can simply browse, no need to import. Okay, so you have option. If you click on this application, that means all your OSB projects are visible here. All OSB projects visible here. Suppose if you click file system, it is your hard disk, C drive, D drive, wherever your WSDL exists. It may be on desktop or some other folder. You can go to file system. So as of now, my WSDL is within the project. So I just went into application option, and here you can browse the common arithmetic interface. That means we are reusing. Observe this, guys. One major important between SOA and OSB here. In SOA, if you want to reuse a document, it may be XSD, it may be WSDL or any other document. If you think you want to reuse it, you need to keep the document into MDS. But in OSB, we don't have concept called MDS because in OSB, you can access any document across application. See this, our current project is common arithmetic project, right? But we can also access find even or odd project. There is a WSDL inside find even or odd project. Even that WSDL you can access if you want. That means you no need to have a WSDL in MDS. It is not required. WSDL is not required in MDS is not required in OSB because any document under any OSB project is accessible in every other OSB project. Okay, right now we are working on common arithmetic project, but we are also able to access the WSDL from find even or odd. Of course, I'm not going to use that at this moment, but I'm telling you the difference between SOA and OSB. In OSB, we don't need MDS. Why we don't need MDS? There must be a reason. The reason is in OSB, any reusable document, that may be visual document, XSD document, or any document, if you want to reuse, yes, you can reuse directly from the project. No need to keep the documents in MDS. Okay, right. So now I selected the WSDL, common arithmetic interface dot WSDL. Say okay. Okay, so WSDL configuration is done, and then it is asking for pipeline configuration. I will give a name, my own name, sub underscore PS. Okay, sorry, it's not PS, it is pipeline. Okay, sub underscore pipeline. Simply say next, make sure the folder structure. So this is the folder for proxy service, and pipeline. It is not showing any folder. Later we can move the file. Okay, say next. And it is asking for the endpoint of your proxy service. You can use any endpoint. I want to leave the default one. Of course, you can customize it. This is one more difference, right, in between SOA and OSB. SOA, we don't have an option to customize the endpoint, but in OSB, we have an option to customize the endpoint. We can give our own endpoint. I just took a backup of the URL. Of course, it's not mandatory. Even later, you can copy that. Just say finish. Now what happened? I am creating one subtraction proxy and a pipeline. Subtraction proxy and a pipeline. See here, automatically they came here. Done. Let me close all the files. I just closed all the files. And see, this pipeline file is under proxy folder. I want to move it. I just want to move it. Go to refactor, move. I want to move this to pipeline folder. It's just a practice. It's just a good practice. I mean, it's not mandatory to move, but it is a good practice to keep the files under proper folder structure. Done. Now, uh, see the project. See, now we have a subtraction proxy and subtraction pipeline. Go inside subtraction pipeline. So here we need to design the business logic. To design the business logic, I want to use a transformation. I want to use a transformation file. You can use XSLT transformation. You can use XQuery transformation. Any transformation is fine. But as I said in the beginning, we have to design the transformation file based on XSDs, not based on variables. Okay. Later we need to, definitely variables are required, but at the time of configuration, variables are not required. What I want to do, I just want to design one transformation. In the previous example, I shown you how to design the XQuery, right? In this example, I want to show you how to use XSLT. Okay, so I want to design a transformation. See this is the transformation folder. Right click on it, new, and go to XSL map. You can see here there is an option called XSL map. Okay, you can choose your source XSD and target XSD. See, primary source, this is the source XSD. Target, this is the target XSD. You can give some naming convention here. I will say subtraction transformation, subtraction transformation, and choose the source and target XSDs. So primary source, browse the XSD. Our XSD is inside WSDL, so go to your WSDL. Request schema is my source XSD. Done. And if you go to target, response schema is our target XSD. Response schema is my target XSD. So this time I'm using a XSL file. Last in the previous example we discussed with XQuery, but this is XSL. Anything is fine. I mean, you design the transformation either using XSLT or XQuery. Simply say OK button. Now what happened? You will get a transformation file. Let it load. Okay, in the transformation file, remember we are creating the transformation file based on XSDs. You need to visualize. I want a logic between these two XSDs, the source XSD structure, target XSD structure, and you need to identify what is the source XSD and what is the target XSD. Okay, and then design the transformation file. It may be XSLT or XQuery. There is another option as well. I will show you in the next example, other than XSLT and XQuery. Okay. Uh, so once the transformation file is ready, you design the logic, whatever business logic is required. Okay. See, this is the transformation file. This is XSLT. We mostly use XSLT in SOA, right? In previous versions, guys, this is 12c, right? Earlier versions, we don't have uh, xquery option in SOA. Xquery option in SOA. In previous versions, let's take 11g, 10g, 11g version of SOA suite, 10g version of SOA suite. We don't have xquery option in SOA, but in 12c we have xquery option as well. Okay, but in OSB, xquery, XSLT, both we can use. Even in the previous version, like 11g OSB, we can use either XSLT, we can use either xquery. It's our choice. Both options we have in OSB. Okay. Anyway, see, we got the transformation file. This is the source XST, and this is the target XST. Design the business logic, simple business logic we are expecting. Okay. So operation name, I just want to hard code this operation name. This is like we did lot of practice in SOA, right? Same thing we can do in OSB XSLT. I want to hard code this subtraction. It is a subtraction operation. I just hard coded this field and then go to result field. How we can calculate result? OSB in 1 minus OSB in 2. This is what we want to do. Go to mathematical functions. You can see subtraction operation, just drag drop. Okay, and then do the required mappings, source mapping, sorry, target mapping, and then do the source mapping. OSB in 1, first field mapped, and then second field. Done. So we are ready with the transformation file. Transformation file can be XSLT, it can be XQuery, anything is fine. Okay, our transformation file is ready with respect to source XSD and target XSD. Done. So transformation file is ready here. Now we need to concentrate on the business logic in our pipeline file. So we start our pipeline file with node. With node, we cannot start any node. There are several options to configure the node. You can see here. There are several options: route node, pipeline pair, stays, condition branch, operational branch. Okay, we have several nodes here. So let's start with pipeline pair. Our discussion, we will start the discussion with pipeline pair. Even in the previous example, I used pipeline pair. So in the pipeline pair, we have two different flows, request pipeline, response pipeline. So if you have some logic in request pipeline as well as response pipeline, if logic exists in both the flows, always request pipeline will be executed first and then response pipeline will be executed. And it is top to bottom execution, top to bottom. Suppose here under the stage, if you have action 1, action 2, action 3, and a response stage also, you can have action 1, action 2, action 3, top to bottom it will execute. Okay, first request pipeline will be completed and then control goes to response pipeline. Anyway, in our current example, we don't have that big logic, we have very small logic. We want to execute subtraction logic. Okay, so anyway, we are ready with the transformation. We are ready with the transformation in our project, but that is created based on XSDs, not based on variables. Okay, now we need to configure this. I mean, I want to execute this transformation. Configuration is completed, transformation logic is ready, but I want to execute the logic. To execute the logic, I need an action. To execute a logic of transformation file, it may be XSLT or XQuery, we need one action. Okay, so what we do, we use an action called replace. There is an action called replace. Why I am using replace action? So like SOA we have assign activity and transform activity, right? In SOA we have assign activity and transform activity to execute some logic. Right here, even in OSB, we have several actions to execute logic. Suppose replace is one action, assign is one action, insert is one action, delete is one action. We have so many actions in OSB. If you see here, message processing. See, there is a section called message processing. Here you can see assign action, delete action, insert, Java callout, validate, replace. There are several actions. We have several actions which executes the business logic. But in this example, I am using replace action. What is the reason why I am using replace action? because here we are executing a small logic. Okay, one small logic. What is it? Something like accept the input. Accept the input. Of course, our input is input XML format. Okay, execute business logic. Okay, and then respond. Respond with response XML, or you can say output XML. It may be a response XML or output XML. Okay, this is what the logic we want to design. So when you accept the input, in OSB, that input XML will be stored into body variable. Concentrate, guys. Whatever input XML received, don't have a separate action or activity in OSB, guys. To receive the input, send the reply, we don't have separate actions. Okay, so by default, when the input received by your pipeline file, that input will be stored into body variable. There is a variable called body. Name of the variable is body. Okay, and you need to execute the business logic. When you execute the business logic, you need an activity, an action. You need an action to execute the logic. So I am using replace action. Why I am using replace action, we'll try to understand now. Okay, we need to execute the logic, that's it, and then respond. So we don't have a reply activity here. We don't have something called reply activity here. If the entire logic in your OSB service executed, your pipeline file understand that, okay, program execution, logic execution done, let's replay the output, but it will consider only body variable as output variable. It will consider body variable as output variable. At the time, at the end of process, I mean pipeline, your process is a pipeline here. Your pipeline, if the entire logic completed in your pipeline, okay, whatever logic you design, the entire logic completed in your pipeline, then what pipeline will do, it will send the body variable as output variable. Whatever data exists in the body variable, your process will not care. The body variable contains some data that will be sent as output. We don't have separate output variable configuration here. We have body variable with two flavors. It behaves as input variable, it behaves as output variable. Okay, so at the end of the process, once every logic in your pipeline executed, end of the process, it send the body variable as output variable. You don't need to configure a separate reply activity like beeple. Okay, done. So now, what is the input received in this body variable? Step number one, what is the input received? Our pipeline, our pipeline will receive an input which is in this structure. Something like this. This is our input. This is our input. Agree? 100, 200. Because this is the structure we followed in XSD. This is the input we received. Once OSB service receives this input, it stores it into body variable. Okay, it stores it into body variable. So when it stores it into body variable, XML looks like this. Body, there is a root tag attached. Root tag attached, and your input XML, and then close tag. So this is, see guys, this is input XML. Line number 15 to 18, this is input XML. Concentrate, listen carefully, and let me know if you don't understand something. This is your input XML. When this input XML stored into body variable, your body variable contains this information. 6 lines of data in body variable. Body variable always contains body tag as the root element. Observe here, body variable is small letters. Body variable contains small letters. The content of body variable, which contains a root element called body and B capital. This is content of body variable. Any questions as of now? Any questions? Can you please respond, guys?
No, sir.
Do you have any question? No?
Sir,
Is it
no, sir.
clear? Okay. So now this is how the body variable looks like once the program started, your pipeline started. When the pipeline started, your body variable looks like this. So what body variable contains? Can you tell me what body variable? So suppose if this is a question, at this moment, program accepted the input and input stored into body variable. At this moment, okay, I want to see what your body variable contains. What my body variable contains. That means this is the XPath. XPath to see what body variable contains. This is the XPath I want to write. So it's very simple. How we access a variable? Dollar body. Dollar body. This will give you the entire body variable. Dollar body gives you entire body variable. Okay, that means the output. The output is at this moment. At this moment, this is the output if you print the body variable along with body tag. Okay, suppose this is my XPath. Let's say dollar body. Okay, dollar body slash root element represents with slash. Root element represents with slash. Okay, let me say I will give the requirement XPath to print, XPath to get OSB in one field value. Okay, I want XPath to get this one. How we will write? It's in body variable, right? Dollar body slash dollar body is the name of the variable. Dollar body is the name of the variable. Okay, my content is in body variable, so dollar body. Okay, under that, see guys, in OSB, we don't write the root element. Root element represents with slash, and then, so what we want? OSB in one, right? The hierarchy is com request schema slash com OSB in one slash text. So what is the output here? What is the output? 100. 100 is the output for this XPath. Okay. Same XPath, the same XPath you can write in a different way only in OSB. Only in OSB. Okay. So this is method one. How to write, writing an XPath in OSB. This is method one and this is method two. Okay. So here we define separately variable XPath. You can define variable and XPath separately. Variable name is body. Variable name is body, and the XPath we start with a dot slash same XPath. So in OSB we use two different methods. You can write the XPath along with the variable. This is one method. You can write the XPath in two different parts. Variable name separate, XPath separate. Both gives you the same result. Both gives you the same result. Okay, according to the need you need to use two different methods. Okay, so now this is my body variable. Beginning of my pipeline, I got the input. Beginning of my pipeline, I got the input stored into body variable. Input stored into body variable. In body variable, if you try to write some XPath, if your XPath is just a dollar body, you are going to get this XML as output. Suppose your XPath is this one, then your output is 100. Okay, you can also write the XPath in a method 2. That means variable separate, XPath separate. You can also write this way. Okay, in this method, in this method also you can get the same output. So all this is because it depends on what your body variable contains. Your body variable contains this XML, so this is the result. This XML, so these are the results. Of course, if your body variable contains different XML, different XPath, different results you will get. Any questions as of now? Any questions? Okay, just give me a break, guys. Let me have some water.
This conference will now be recorded.
Any questions from any one of you? So how to write the XPath? So especially in OSB, we have two different approaches to write the XPath. First approach is you can write the XPath along with the variable name. First approach is you can write the XPath along with the variable name. And second approach is variable name separate, XPath separate, variable name separate, XPath separate. So in this approach, you need to start your XPath with a dot. Okay, dot means root element of variable. Dot means root element of variable. Whatever variable you mentioned here, suppose my variable name is ABC and XPath I said I started with dot, that means root element of ABC variable. Is it clear, everybody? Now, now let's say in this body variable, this is the body variable, right? Body variable. This is the content of body variable. Okay, this guy from line number 21 to line number 26 is the content of body variable. So in this body variable, I want to access root element. In this body variable, I want to access root element. Let's say this is the body variable. I want to access root element. Path to access root element. Root element. This is my requirement. So the XPath method one. XPath method one. I want to access root element of my body variable. So method one, you simply write dollar body. You write dollar body, and the output is entire XML. Entire XML is the output. Any question? Any question? Suppose for the same requirement, you want to write the XPath in method 2. Method 2. Okay. So method 2 contains two different things, variable and XPath. Variable and XPath. So here variable is just body. We don't use dollar here. Observe. Here I'm using dollar body. Okay. But when you are going with method 2, while writing the variable name, we don't use dollar. Okay. Simply provide the name of the variable, and the XPath is, our intention is to access the root element, right? Dot, just dot. Dot represents root element. So the output is entire body variable. Root element represents entire body variable. Is it clear? Any question? Any question while writing the XPath in method 1 and method 2?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. Now go back to our program. So what I want to do in my program, I want to execute subtraction logic. Subtraction logic. For that, I already have a transformation file. But how to execute this transformation file? I need an action. To execute this transformation file, I need an action. I'm using replace action because in our current case, body variable holds the input data. Body variable I want to use to hold input and output. Initially, body variable contains input XML. After execution of business logic, my body variable should contain output XML. That means I want to remove the content in body variable, replace the content with output XML. Body variable contains input XML. I want to remove it. I want to replace it with my output XML. I want to override with output XML. For that reason, I am using replace action. We have several other actions we'll discuss one by one, but first try to understand the replace action. So in this transformation, body is the source variable, body is the target variable which holds the data. Source XML data, target XML data, or the input XML data or the output XML data. Okay, same variable we are using before executing logic and after executing logic. For that reason, I want to replace the content of body variable. By using the replace action, we will replace the content of body variable. So there are several expressions we need to discuss here, several properties. Okay, so let me list out the properties. In the replace action, you see there are several properties. The first, source properties. Source properties are val value. This is source property. And target properties. Target properties are location, XPath, okay, and then replace option. Okay, total there are four properties. This property considered as source property, and this property contains these three properties are considered as target properties. Are we good? So in the source property, I mean value, in the value property, we do two configurations. I mean, we supply transformation file. It can be XQuery or XSLT. Okay, XQuery or XSLT. And then we also need to configure source variable. We do two things under this value property. Okay, let me go to JDeveloper. See, this is the value property. Here, if you click on this small drop down icon, there are several options. Suppose if you have an XQuery file, you go with XQuery resource. If you have an XSLT file, go with XSLT resource. In our current example, we configured XSLT file, right? XSL file for subtraction business logic. Just click on the XSLT resource, browse your XSLT file. Once you click on the browse button, it will browse your XSLT file. See, within the application, there is only one XSL file. Just say okay. So your XSLT file is ready, and now you need to browse your source variable, input document expression. Where is your input document? It is in my body variable. My input document is in body variable. Just browse it. See here, this is your body variable. This is your body variable in two different flavors, request and response. So which one is your input for the transformation? Request variable. Request variable is the input of my transformation. I just selected the root element. Okay, see here, see the XPath. Body variable contains request schema. Body variable contains request schema. This is the element. This is the XML element. Okay, this is my source. My transformation, to execute my transformation, this is the source. Suppose this is the XPath. Okay, let's go to your XPath practice. Suppose this is the XPath. Tell me, what is the output? What is the output of this XPath? This one. This is the output of this XPath or not? We are accessing a complex element under body variable. I'm
Sir,
trying
that
to
is.
access request schema. So root element you no need to mention in the XPath. See, body is the root element here. You no need to mention the root element in XPath. Slash, the first slash represents the root element. Okay, is it clear? So this is the XPath. This XPath we are supplying as input to your transformation file. We are supplying this as input to transformation file. So for our transformation, this is the input XML. This is the input XML. This is the variable. Line number 1 to line number 6 is the variable, and we are supplying this as input. We are not supplying entire body variable. We are supplying this XPath as input. So this is the input. Okay. Input XPath, say okay. So the source configuration completed. Source configuration. Source configuration means we configured one transformation file. For that transformation file, what is the source? Source. Is it clear? This part is clear? Only one property we configured. Only one value property we configured. All other properties are target properties. So here, the location means the target property. Target variable name you need to mention in the location property. So this XSLT file, once you execute this XSLT file, okay, once you execute this XSLT file, it will generate some output. Some output it will generate, right? So I mean, open the XSLT file. So this is the logic here. So this XSLT generates this output format XML, correct? This is the output format. So that means your XSLT, once you execute your XSLT generates an output transformation output. Your XSLT generates some output like this. Okay, so subtraction. We hard coded the operation name as sub and some result according to the input. Suppose 200 minus 100, 100 is the result. 500 minus 300, 200 is the result. Something, some integer will be generated. This is the output generated by your transformation. See the structure: response schema, operation name, result. So the same structure, right? We have response schema, operation name, result. So this is the structure. Your transformation is going to generate the output XML, some XML, output of transformation. It's not output of your proxy service. It is output of your transformation. Any question till now? So once we got the output, once we got some output XML from the transformation, that must be saved into a variable. That must be saved into a variable. So our intention here is I want to save this XML into body variable. I just want to save this XML into my body variable. Okay, so you can choose the variable name. Location is nothing but name of the variable. You can see in the drop down list, you can select the variable where you want to store the output of transformation file. Body variable. In body variable where you want to store, because body variable is not empty. Body variable is not empty. Body variable contains something. Body variable contains request schema XML. Correct. This is the current position of body variable is this one. This is how the body variable looks like at this point of time. And I want to override the body variable with my output XML. I want to override the body variable with the output XML of transformation file. So, but body variable is not empty. Body variable is not empty. Okay. So body variable, I want to override with some another XML, another XML. So in the body variable is not empty. So which part of the body variable you want to override? Which part of the body variable you want to override? That you need to mention here. Okay. So where is it? So you got my point, sir? Everybody? So this is how we are doing the execution. Source variable,
Yes.
supply it to transformation file, it generates an output, out, or I will say result, yeah, output XML, it generates an output XML. This output XML we need to store in a variable, this output XML I want to store in a variable. So what is the variable we choose? Body variable. We choose body variable. Okay. So body, our source variable also a body variable that we want to override. That we want to override with our output XML. With our output XML. Is it clear? So if you try to override body variable with output XML, body variable is not empty. It contains something. It already contains something. So how it looks like body variable at this point of time? This is how it looks like. Your body variable source. Source looks like this. In this, I want to override my output XML. This is my output XML. This is the transformation output. This part I want to override in my body variable. So tell me what I need to override here. Line number 26 to 31 I want to override, or line number 27 to 30 we want to override. Can someone tell me which part of the body variable we need to override?
27 to 30.
Line number 27 to 30 you need to override. Line number
Yes.
27 to 30. Okay. Line number 27 to 30. I want to tell my program, consider line number 27 to 30 and override the output XML. So this is the output XML. This is the output XML. This guy I want to replace in my body variable in this section. Is it clear? This is how I want to override. But how I need to tell my program, this is what I want. See this? In the program, we have target properties. Location is nothing but the name of the variable. I said body variable, and XPath I said dot. Dot means what? Body variable dot. Tell me guys, body variable dot means what? Which element?
Root element.
Root element. What is the root element?
Body.
What is the root element? Body. Body. This is variable name is body. XPath is dot, means line number 26 to line number 31. Is it right? Body variable XPath is dot. It means line number 26 to 31. Line number 26 to 31. Okay. Okay. So now replace option. Replace option. We have two options here. Replace entire node, replace node content. We have two options. Replace entire node. Second option is replace node content. Okay, we have two options here. We said my target is body variable, in body variable dot, in body variable dot. That means body tag. So whatever is the output of this XPath will be considered as node. This is called node. This is called node. Okay. So on node, we have two options to perform. Replace entire node, replace node content. So node is body tag in this configuration. Node is body tag. So you want to replace the node or node content. You want to replace the node. So suppose you want to replace the node, that means it looks, if you replace the node, it looks like this. Okay. If you replace node content, it look like this. Is it clear? Now you tell me, you want me to go with replace entire node or you want me to replace node content? What is node here? Body tag is the node because the XPath is dot. XPath is dot. It is called node. It is called node. Whatever XPath you wrote, the result of XPath is called node. Okay. So you want to replace the node or node content?
Nodes.
We want to replace, see, node means what here? Dot
Node
represents the
content.
node. Dot represents the node. So as per dot is a root element. Dot is a root element. That means nothing but body tag in body variable. Body tag in body variable. You want to replace the body tag or content of body tag?
10%.
Content of body tag. We want to replace the content of body tag. Okay, so this is the option we need to select. Select this option. Select this option. Then what happened? Your body variable will become, your body variable will become this one. This is how your body variable replaced. The configuration, if you see the configuration here, target variable configuration, target variable name is body. In body, I want to choose my dot element, nothing but root element. Whatever you choose under XPath is called as node. On node, there are two options provided. You want to replace the entire node or you want to replace the node content. Okay, you want to replace the entire node or replace the node content. You take the action. So my node is body tag. My node is body tag. I want to replace the node content. If I say node content, I want to replace the node content. Your output XML will replace content of body tag. Your output XML replace content of body tag. Content of body tag is request schema replaced by response schema. Is it clear? Suppose the same configuration you can do in a different way. So here I'm using dot, right? Instead of dot, I want to go with a different configuration. Let's see. Instead of dot, what I want to do, okay, tell me one thing. This is the input XML. This is the input XML, input body variable, input flavor. You tell me something. I want to read request schema. I want to read request schema element. What is the XPath? I want to read request schema element. Can you tell me the XPath? Dollar body slash colon request schema. Okay, this is method 1, correct? This is method 1. Method 2, variable name body XPath dot slash com request schema. This is method 2. This is method 1 of XPath. This is method 2 of XPath. In replace action, which method we are using? In replace action, we are using method 2, correct? In replace action. Now, see this location is body, and XPath. If I use this XPath, okay? If I use this XPath, now what is the node? Now what is the node? Node, is it body tag or
Request
request
schema.
schema tag?
Request schema is
Request
the node.
request schema becomes the node. Request schema becomes the node, and I want to select a replace option. I want to override my body variable with transformation output. I want to override body variable with transformation output. Tell me which option I need to select. Entire node or node content?
Entire node.
Entire node. See, last time, the previous discussion, 2 minutes back, in the previous discussion, we used this option, replace node content, in the previous combination. So when I use dot, I selected replace node content. But now I don't want to replace node content. I want to go to replace entire node, because this section I want to replace. And the node is request schema, and I want to replace my node, replace entire node, not the node content. If I say node content, suppose if I select this option, if I say node content, my output XML, body variable looks like this. If I say node content, okay, if I say node content, my output variable or body variable looks like this. So this is how your body variable looks like if you say node content at this configuration. With this configuration, and if you selected node content, node is request schema, and content you are replacing, only the content will be replaced. Suppose instead of content, you select this option. Then what happened? The entire node will be replaced. This way, your body tag will remain same. Under that, which part of your body variable you want to replace will be decided with these 3 properties, in combination of 3 properties. Any question? Any question? Okay, let's see. Let's see. So the replace action and the location is body and the XPath. XPath, I want to replace my body variable request schema element. Request schema element. Under that, I want to replace the entire node. When I said request schema, I selected replace entire node. Okay. Let's execute and see how it will be different. Okay. I want to export the jar OSB service. Go to pipeline. We need one pipeline, subtraction pipeline, and we need subtraction proxy, and we need transformation. Okay, WSDL we already deployed and we are reusing the same WSDL, so no need to select the WSDL here. We already deployed this WSDL as part of Edition web service. Okay, browse on my desktop. Let me save the jar. Let me save the jar, subtraction jar, finish. Okay, go to your service bus, create the session, import, browse the jar which is on our desktop, import this. Okay, close. Now if you activate the session, just activate the session. Let's see the project. Okay, now go to your project, see the subtraction pipeline. We got the subtraction pipeline. Okay, so simply test it. You can test it directly. You can test the proxy service, you can test the pipeline service. Okay, I'm testing the proxy service. Sorry, it's a yeah, proxy only. I opened proxy, right? Yeah, PS. I opened proxy file. uh, Arithmetic operation is the name of the operation, and here I said 50, 150 I'm providing as input, 150 I'm providing as input. Execute. Okay, observe the response. Body tag contains response schema. Okay, let me take a screenshot. I will modify the program and I will show you. Done. Just keep a backup of the screenshot. Now I will change the configuration. So instead of entire node, I will say node content. Okay. See, no other property I'm changing. Instead of saying entire node, I said node content. Save it and try to deploy. This time I modified only proxy file. So you can export only proxy file. You don't need to export the entire project. You just export proxy file. Sorry, pipeline file. I modified, I made the changes in the pipeline file. So only export pipeline file. Subtraction jar, I'm overriding it. Okay. Now go to SB console. Again, create the session. And import. Browse the jar, subtraction jar, import. Done. Import completed. Activate the session. Let's test your subtraction proxy again. Test the subtraction proxy. Okay, same. This time I will give 120. First field is 100, second field is 20. Execute the logic. Observe the result. What is the difference? See the response document. This is response document. Here in the first response document, we selected the option replace entire node in the first test. Entire node. When I said entire node, it replaced the request schema. This is the node. Okay. Request schema replaced with response schema. But in the second option, Instead of entire node, we selected node content. That means, see, the node still exists. Request schema exists. Under that, you can see the response XML. Request schema exists, and under that, you can see the response schema. Any questions? You understand it or not? How I am operating, how we utilize the target fields. How we utilize the target fields: location, XPath, and replace option. These three are target variable related configurations. In target variable, what is the target variable? In target variable, what is the node? Inside node, whether you want to replace the entire node or node content. Three options in target variable. Yeah. Any questions? You can go with questions now.
Sir, one question I have.
Yeah.
So, for simple transformation, we have assign also in voice way. So, when we go for replace and when we go for assign.
This is what we discussed the entire session, man. We are trying to what is our target variable in our business logic?
Body.
After we execute the body, right? Body empty
Yeah,
variable, or it contains something.
it contains something.
So when it contains something and you want to copy something, you want to copy something in a variable, but the variable is not empty and it already contains something.
Okay.
Correct? So what do you need
Yeah.
to do? Replace the
So,
old content with new content.
yes.
Replace the old content with new content. Then go for replace action. It's not just for body variable. Understand the concept. Replace is not meant for body variable. Replace action meant to override an existing variable which contains data with new content. I already have a variable. It already contains some data that I want to override with new data. Then go for replace action. Replace, the name itself is saying, right? It will replace the content in a variable. I have a variable. Okay, suppose let's say I will give you an example. Let's say I have a variable called x. Okay, this variable contains something, some data is there, some data is there. Okay, something. Now I want to execute one transformation. I want to execute some transformation. Result I want to store into x variable. I have a transformation. The result of transformation I want to store into x variable. So x variable already contains some data. Okay. Now I have y variable, no data, no data. Okay. So now in this first transformation, to perform this, the result of transformation I want to store in x variable. It's not body variable, x variable. What action we have to use?
Uh, Replace.
We need to use replace action. We need to use replace action. The result of transformation I want to store into x variable. X variable already contains data. X variable already contains data, but now I want to store some new data. Then you have to go for replace action. You have to go for replace action. And here y variable has no data. Y variable has no data, but the result of transformation I want to store in y variable. Result of transformation I want to store in y variable. Y variable is empty. It has no data at all. Then it is not replace. There is something called assign. We'll talk
Right.
about assign action little later, but it's not, see, that's what is very important here. Replace action is not meant for body variable. Okay, when
Yes,
you
right.
have to go for replace, you are trying to copy data into a variable, and the variable already contains something. You are trying to copy some data into a variable, and the variable already contains different data. That data you want to replace with new data. Then go for replace action. Okay, you want to copy some data into a variable is empty, there is no data, there is no data. In that case we go for assign action. We'll see assign action going forward, not at this point of time. Okay, is it clear
Right, right.
everybody how I'm configuring all these four properties? Okay, source properties and target properties. We have source properties and target properties. Guys, you need to visualize. In OSB, this is the challenge. You need to visualize how the action is working, how the properties are working. What is the input structure? What is the output structure? What is the content of body variable? You need to visualize the structure. We don't get the graphical representation here like SOA. Okay. So this is how, guys, I provided the XPath as dot slash request schema, right? So in that case, the right option is replace entire node. This is the right option to get the proper data. If you go for node content, what happened? It is how it looks like. See, request schema is there that contains response schema. If you use this option, replace node content. Okay, this depends on the XPath configuration. Suppose if the XPath configuration, instead of this, if I say only dot, what is the right option to select? Replace node content is the right option. Replace node content is the right option. Suppose this is the XPath. In this case, replace entire node is the right option. Okay, can you do this practice? If you do this practice, it will be more clear for you. Okay, select the first option, see the output and observe what is the output contains, how the output looks like. Okay, how the output looks like, and other option, when you select the other option, how the output looks like. Without practice, you cannot understand it. Okay, let me, where is my cursor? Okay, that's it for today, guys. I will stop the recording.